Sacrifice will release the glory. Priesthood and sacrifice. As a matter of fact, there's no priesthood without sacrifice. When you stand before an empty altar, that's not priesthood you are doing. What makes your altar effective is the sacrifice that is on it and the quality of the sacrifice. That's why people in the demonic, they know there are certain realms of power and glory that men in the demonic want to see. They will tell you it's not chicken you bring, it's not goat, it's a cow. Because sacrifice is in degree. Because the human blood is more precious than the blood of an animal. So sacrifice releases spiritual power. Every time there is sacrifice, power is released, glory is released. In 2 Kings chapter 3, you see when Elisha had prophesied to the 3 kings going to war against Moab, Israel and Judah. They were going to war, and Elisha had given a prophecy that the Lord would deliver the enemy into their hand. He spoke, he said they should make dishes. There was going to be water. There was going to be enough water for them and their animals. They stood up and did, the Bible says, and they offered some burnt sacrifice. Maybe they took one of their goats, one of their rams, their sheep, and offer before the Lord, and they went into the battle. The first thing that happened was that they woke up in the morning and they saw that water had filled the ditches. So God had fulfilled part of the prophecy to them. They saw water for them and their cattle and their horses to drink, and they went into battle. Part of the prophecy had been fulfilled. They started winning against the enemy. Part of the prophecy had been fulfilled. But the Bible says, when the king of Moab saw that he was being defeated, for posterity's sake, he took his son, who is an heir to the throne, and sacrificed him against the wall. And the Bible says a great indignation broke out against the children of Israel, and they ran back home. So some of them would have gone back home and say, Elisha is not very accurate. He said we'll win the battle, but we're defeated. Can you see that? It was the sacrifice of another man that changed the laws and the rules of engagement. Higher realms of the demonic were invoked against Israel, and Israel could not stand because of the sacrifice of a man. Because sacrifice attracts spirit, whether demonic or divine. When a man begins to offer sacrifice before God, that sacrifice attracts the presence of God, the glory of God, the power of God. Are you following me? The same way, when a man begins to offer sacrifice in the demonic, that sacrifice begins to attract demonic spirit, because sacrifice is the food of spirit. Don't you forget that. That's why there are certain measures of the glory of God. There are certain measures of the workings of God we will not come into as believers if we are not willing to make sacrifice. It's not enough to say Jesus has done it all. Yes, the sacrifice of Jesus is the basis for you to be accepted in the beloved. The sacrifice of Jesus is the basis for everything that God will give you. But God also requires your own sacrifice. Paul said, I beseech thee by the mercies of God, that you offer your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. He said, this is your reasonable worship. So your sacrifice is not blood. God is not demanding that you slaughter a chicken. Your sacrifice is your life. When you lay your life on the altar in your pursuit of God, when you lay your time, the time that you have been using to do something else, you use that time to seek God. That's a sacrifice. Sacrifice is something that will cost you. When you should be sleeping, you are praying. That's a sacrifice. You are sacrificing your sleep for the glory of God. You are sacrificing your money for the glory of God.